So who wants to go first? Teresa?
Yes. As a longtime Flushing Township resident, I feel this amendment to the home occupation ordinance will be beneficial to the township residents who are going to be neighbors of anyone who is a medical marijuana provider and grower. As there has already been several incidents of crime in the township with residents who are growing marijuana for their own use, this amendment seeks to firm up rules for which those who wish to provide marijuana as a primary caregiver. All the items in the amendment have been carefully taken into account. The laws of Michigan have been followed. Also, feedback from residents in an earlier public meeting. I believe the medical marijuana providers are running a business and should be in a commercial setting, not a residential one. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Teresa. Who's next? Got to raise your hand or?
I would like to go.
Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Chelsea Kimber. I would like to say thank you to the Flushing Township Board of Trustees for holding this meeting today. I would also like to make a comment on how unlawful this is based on the Medical Marijuana Act of 2008, which clearly describes the rights for caregivers and what they are allowed to do within the confines of their own home. Caregivers are not all cashing in on tens of thousands of dollars each harvest, disturbing their neighbors, involved in outdoor grows or shootouts, as was explained previously by Supervisor Thorsby, which would be online on the Flushing View article that has been spread across the internet. Cultivating in the safety and security of their home, albeit in a garage, basement, closet, what have you, is clearly within their rights. So I'm not really sure why Flushing wants to draft and pass forward an ordinance that would then in turn affect the everyday people whom I am mentioning, at-home small-time caregivers doing everything they can to remain legal within the parameters the law of 2008 has laid out for them to do. These people are now subject to harassment and bullying by their own township, being put between a rock and a hard place, having language within this ordinance that is impossible to attain. This leaves anyone who is reading this draft to be appalled and concerned as to what the true reason behind this ordinance is. Is it to snuff out medical marijuana caregivers from within your township? Because if you are saying that it is a business, I would also like for anyone who is interested in this specific issue to look at the difference between a medical marijuana caregiver as well as the Medical Marijuana Facilities Act and Adult Use Act on Michigan.gov. They are completely separate things, and there are no stipulations in the Medical Marijuana Caregivers Law that says that these types of stipulations are required in order for them to cultivate in their home. And I think that enforcing something like this is wasting taxpayer time, money, and resources to enforce an unnecessary ordinance, and any surrounding cities or townships to take this as precedence and to continue to regulate caregivers in a manner which you do not have the authority to do is.
Okay, we got to stop. We got a lot of people here that want to talk. Is there somebody else that wants to?
Yeah, we'll go.
Hi there. My name is Corey Wagenschutz. This is my wife, Katie. We are new members of this township, and we are pretty disheartened by this ordinance. I can say personally, I'm kind of shocked, especially after Wyoming's similar ordinance was kicked out by the Supreme Court and called unconstitutional, that would be wasting our time on a measure like this.
Spent our tax dollars. We're new to this community. We moved to this community because we really like the Flushing community. However, by seeing that the township board is pushing forward with this, utilizing taxpayer dollars, it seems wasteful. My husband and I have chronic medical issues. I think that really it's an opioid issue that our community is dealing with. And I think that it seems displaced that our township board is putting so much focus on this to appease some of the citizens, but not the majority. That seems like a really big problem to me. It seems that our township board has their priorities mixed up, and that as a new member of this community, my husband and I also feel that by putting such stipulations on us as citizens and as part of this community, I would move to either sell my house to be out from under that kind of stringent power, or even move to recall the township board members, because this just seems very, like I said, very wasteful, very premature.
And I'll say on the recall, people are already aware that we can start recalling this board on June 20th. They're aware that it takes 1,075 votes to recall Miss Manerick. It takes less than that to recall the rest of the board. She was the top vote getter. And that's not a threat. That's just disappointing, guys. This comes across really bigoted.
Yeah, I also would like to say that as a professional that worked in police and EMS for the majority of my career, I feel that you have come with zero statistics to back up.
Coming up on your 3 minutes.
Okay, well, I would come up with that you have zero statistics to back up why you would even want to do this, other than the feelings of certain citizens and not taking in them there.
All right, who's next?
I would like to comment on this ordinance. I'm completely against it. Not only is it unlawful, as has already been mentioned, it's inconsiderate of your residents that have already invested so much time and money into their garden, only for you to turn around and say that it's illegal with no sort of grandfather clause. Additionally, people seem to want to complain about the smell. If you regulate this because of such complaints, then there must also be a regulation of laundry. I'm allergic to scents, and I can walk around and smell the discharge from people's dryers using scented products with no concern for the fact that their neighbors can smell it.
All right, next.
I also have one more point to make. I'm not trying to go
No,
for
let
3
somebody
minutes,
else go.
but
You're gonna-
I actually think that their citizens.
I yield the rest of my time to her.
No, you don't. You don't get to decide how the meeting goes.
Well, the citizens should know that you guys were mocking people, citizens who were coming to talk before the meeting even started.
Who's next?
All right. Hey, Fred, can you hear me?
Buddy? Yep.
Okay, everybody. This is Buddy Dalton. I'm at Cloud Cultivation. I've been working 10 and a half years in this industry, helping medical patients grow medicine, you guys. This isn't about money. So the first lady was super wrong. I've got a ton of points. You say you can't ask questions. So these are all questions. We all want to know the answer. You guys are trying to prevent everybody from being a caregiver. That's called field preemption, you guys. It means they're doing something not allowed by the courts. It's trying to remove the caregiver rights because it's too rigorous. They're trying to basically, what we're asking you to do is suspend this vote tonight. Please do not vote on this. Let us, at least as a community, give you feedback and ask you questions before you vote, because tonight is not the time. So we need at least 2 to 4 weeks for discovery. Okay, so on page 2, everybody flip to page 2. It says here under article section 20-1803, well, home occupation, you guys, we're not an occupation. Wake up. That means making money. You guys, I make no money. I grow for myself and a patient who's sick. And guess what? It's free. How is that an occupation? You can't define that as an occupation. You're saying 25% of my home. If I live in a 2,000 square foot home with one other person and I want to grow in my basement, it can take up the basement, you guys. That's 1,000 square feet. So minimum 50%. You're saying 375 square foot. That's not enough for a patient, couple patients. We need minimum 1,000 square feet or more. You guys are too restrictive. Please reflect down to section E. Shall have a minimum lot size of 5 acres of land. Explain yourselves. You can't. There's no reason. We don't need any land. You're growing in our house. It's not, nobody knows, it's concealed. So we don't need to worry about how much land we have. Please remove that. Also, 50 feet, that's not right. Lots are small. Hello. So 10 foot, just like the other buildings. Look up your ordinance. 10 feet from lot line, you guys. Be real. This is totally excluding most people. That's what we're pissed about. Not legal what you're doing. Okay, you guys can make an ordinance, but it cannot say that people cannot be a caregiver. Okay, in this township and in Michigan, it's legal to have your card, okay, and grow for compassion. It's called caregiver. Please be for real. Page 3. You guys are creating an arbitrary restriction by not letting somebody not live at their residence. Don't worry about it. It's not affecting you. They're going to keep their yard clean. You're imposing on caregiver rights. Section 5, the growing location must be an enclosed and detached building. Not true. Look up the law, please. It says you grow in your home. So it's to be grown in your home. We need to change that for in-home growing. Hello. Number 6, the holder of the primary caregiver license shall renew with a permit. No, we do not need a special land use because we have a medical card. We're not going to need a special land use. You can write your permit, but you can write your ordinance, but there's no permit. You understand what I'm saying? It's a special land use in your definition, not in ours, because we're licensed medical growers. We do not need a
All right, buddy.
permit. So you can just write the ordinance without the permit. Last but not least, no
Come on.
one is going to be deeming necessary to come over and inspect inside your house, walking around trespassing.
Okay, next one.
I'd like to say something.
Yeah, go ahead.
How is the 5-acre max or limit going to prevent the crime that you're complaining about? You're saying you want to have this law because of crime, the increase in crime. You can have 300 acres and it's not going to make any difference. Why do you want that law? You people are being really, really ignorant of what is right for everybody else. You just want it your way and no way. And Fred, you need to sit still.
Anybody else?
Yes, I would like to speak.
Yeah, go ahead.
My name is Jenny, and I live in Flushing Township.
Okay.
I'm very concerned about this ordinance because I'm concerned about our rights as patients, as growers, anybody that, uses marijuana. I just wanted to cite a little case law because I know this is where this ordinance is coming from. Byron Township required under its home occupation that primary caregiver must have a permit and the medical use of marijuana be conducted entirely within a dwelling or attached garage. The Supreme Court did side with them. And they said, though, that the marijuana law did not negate the township's authority to set zoning laws as long as it doesn't ban, penalize growing, or impose unreasonable restriction. So letting her grow inside her house with a permit wasn't an unreasonable restriction. This ordinance is. It is unreasonable to assume that caregivers who only receive monetary donations could purchase a home with 5 acres in a separate enclosed structure. This is an unreasonable restriction. Many caregivers grow under 72 plants and they do it inside their own home. It is unreasonable to say that those individuals no longer have that right in their own dwelling. It would save this township citizens money on a lawsuit to simply limit the amount of plants a caregiver can grow outdoors in their yard by way of a limited license. Section 20-1803 A through E and 1 through 8 of this ordinance are a list of unreasonable restrictions, and citizens will end up paying for this lawsuit. The Byron case went through 2 courts and 2 losses before it went to the Supreme Court. Residents had to foot that bill, and I do not want to pay for this. I suggest you scrap this entire ordinance and start over, taking into consideration the state law and the opinions of your citizens. We didn't even know about this till the end of January. This is a slippery slope. In addition, people have had apples and pumpkins stolen. Are you going to make them grow in sheds too? I compel you to suspend this vote tonight. And I will also take up action to recall this board if this is not listened to by the citizens. We have a right to have an input on this before it's voted on.
Can I go?
Yeah, go ahead, Francis.
Hey, listen, I just caught wind of this, and I don't recommend that we go ahead and vote on that like tonight, because it's just like the last person said, this is like under the wire. I surrender the rest of my minutes, but don't vote on this tonight. Let's hear these people out. Thank you.
I'd just like to point out that one of the first people that had something to say about the increase in crime, Flushing released their crime data just as of yesterday, and we are set to be 84.25% lower than the national property crime rate as of 2021. Flushing township's property crime rate is also 80.05% lower than the other townships in Michigan. Projected crime rate data for 2021 in our township is 0, and that's put out by you guys. I would also like to say, I put a lot of money into, I do grow, and I've got an ordinance is not going to stop me from doing that. I put a lot of money into trying to keep my lighting costs down by building a greenhouse special for this. I have nearly 4 acres. And because I'm an acre shy, you guys are going to try to take that away from me. I do not feel that it's right. And you kind of are crossing a line when it comes to the state law itself.
I'd like to say something quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, if y'all do vote tonight, y'all have no regards of any of the people of Flushing. I just heard about this new ordinance going in effect just a few days ago. So it may be my fault for not doing more research. It's just a lot that's going on this year, just especially everything. So I will hope y'all will give us a little bit more time so we could organize before y'all do any type of vote like tonight. I just feel like y'all are just moving a little too fast, and y'all need to slow down and listen to the people and understand where we're coming from and try to meet us in the middle. That's all we're asking, is to review everything and come back and let's try to work together. That's it. Thank you.
I would like to say something.
Go ahead.
Or it's a question, actually. So I am
You can't answer
licensed.
questions.
You can't answer questions?
No, I can't answer questions. It's your chance to make a statement, and that's all we can do.
Well, I grow industrial hemp, and so it is a cannabis family. And that's, to me, as far as I'm concerned, I feel the same way that all these people that are speaking, is that we shouldn't be, I lease land to grow it, and I shouldn't be, the way it looks like the ordinance is going to read is that I possibly am going to be affected by that. And I don't believe that that is fair to anybody who wants to grow something as low in THC, who doesn't do it to get, it's a medical reason to, it's for CBG and CBD, and it is not. I just don't feel that it's right that anybody has a right to tell us what we get to grow on our property. And so I'm trying to do this without asking questions, because that is my concern, is whether or not that my license that I'm paying for, the same way the medical cards are getting paid for, I shouldn't be curtailed in what I'm doing to have a business in your township. It makes me want to move out of the township. It's really sad, because I've lived here now 15 years. I don't believe it's right that somebody gets to tell me what I get to grow and not grow, as long as I'm doing it legally, paying the legal licenses, following all the legal laws. I don't think that it's proper to do it to people who are trying to grow to take care of themselves medically without killing themselves from pharmaceutical things. I agree. We need to take a moment, step back. Yes, we need to meet in the middle. Let's have an ordinance. That's fine. But look on both sides of the fence. That's all. Thank you.
All right, anybody else?
All right.
Go ahead.
I just want to say, first of all, I'm also not from Flushing, but I'm also a veteran, and I'm also a reporter. And I just want to comment that what I'm seeing here is a call from the people that came to this meeting for you to not have a vote on this tonight. And if you do have a vote on this still, then it's pretty disrespectful to the people that decide to show up. Also, this is a direct assault on caregivers. And if you really want to make an ordinance, you're going to have to scrap about most of what you have already, because it's against the law what you're doing. Read the law. It's very clear about licenses, extra scrutiny on caregivers. This whole thing about what a closed and locked facility is has nothing to do with what you're talking about with 5 acres and an outdoor facility being mandatory. Like this, whatever you came up with right now, I don't know who wrote it, but it's completely ludicrous. That's all I got.
Great, thank you.
Did anyone hear that?
Yes,
that come through?
yes, we can hear you.
Pardon? Oh,
Yeah, you came through, Mr. Strong.
okay. Have a good one.
Yep.
I'd like to go. Hi. Thank you.
Rebecca?
Yes, hi, thank you. I just wanted to point out again that this is not a business.
Yeah.
We are not allowed to do anything with taxes. We don't make any money. There's no business coming in and out. There's no need for parking or any of the things that are in the bullet points that you guys are requiring. There's no employees. There might be extra electrical, but I want to remind everyone, this is not a business.
I'd like to talk.
Oh, go ahead.
So this is me and my fiance. We're fairly new residents here in Flushing. And what I think you're doing is definitely not right. There's already laws laid out by the state of Michigan that the people voted for. And I believe that we should adhere to those instead of trying to enforce an unenforceable ordinance that will more than likely end up in litigation and cost us, the taxpayers, money. And I just feel like the board is doing too much. I mean, you're going too far. I mean, what's next? You know, you have to have 100 acres to shoot a gun. You have to have, 100 acres to hunt. And if they're talking about smell, I mean, we have farms all over this community that spread manure. And, I'm sure nobody loves the smell of manure, but it's just the way it is. So I would definitely like to see you guys take more consideration if you're going to vote on this. Also, allowing somebody to come in and trespass on your land and in your property to look at your crop or whatever it may be with the permit. The licensed caregivers already have all the permit they need. They've went through, they've done what they've had to do to get a caregiver permit, and I don't believe they need anything in excess from the township to do so. That's all I have.
All right, we're going to close the public comment portion of the meeting, and we'll move to unfinished business, which is a motion to approve the second reading of the amendment to the Home Occupation Ordinance 2101. Everybody should have a copy of it. Was there any changes in this ordinance from when it was the first reading?
No.
Oh, there's no changes. Is there a motion regarding the amendment?
I make a motion that we approve the second reading of amendment to the Home Occupation Ordinance 21-01.
I'll call you back.
Who seconded? Thought I heard a second.
I'll second that.
Okay. Is there discussion on the amendment?
I have a question. Now,
Yeah.
if we vote on this, does that ordinance become law right now, or?
Within 15 days, it has to be published in the paper, and it takes effect as soon as it's published.
But the mayor can veto this, right?
What was that, Bill?
Yeah, I guess my question is there any harm in postponing the vote, or I mean, really, what are you guys' thoughts on this?
I don't see any reason to postpone it. That's
I'm just bringing up the question. I wasn't, really sure what it would affect if we did it, but I that was just my question. I didn't know. I'm relatively new to the board, so.
What these people are saying and what their concerns are, Steve, have that, is any of what they're saying, as far as being unlawful? I mean, I'm assuming that you looked this over and it's lawful for us to do this, correct?
Sorry about that.
Sorry. Anyone can challenge the validity of an ordinance,
keep in mind that this ordinance or an ordinance similar to it was adopted by Byron Township. And then there was a challenge made to the validity. It was adopted as part of their zoning ordinance. And then there was a challenge. The township lost at the trial court. The township lost at the Court of Appeals because and this involved, the caregivers were created under the original Michigan Medical Marijuana Act that was adopted in 2008. And in that statute, the state preempted the right for all regulatory control over all of the provisions in that statute. So there had been a number of challenges to the attempts by local units to regulate in addition to the regulation imposed by the state statute, and they were universally struck down by the court, saying the states had preempted. Then in 2016, we passed the current medical marijuana statute. And 2 years later, in 2018, after the ballot proposal was successful, we adopted the statutory scheme regulating recreational marijuana. Byron Township adopts its zoning ordinance. It goes up the chain of courts, gets knocked down at the trial court, gets knocked down at the Court of Appeals, goes up to the Supreme Court, and everyone's anticipating a very close divisive decision. It wasn't. It was a unanimous 7-0 decision upholding that ordinance. And the court ruled, it struck down prior precedent. And the underlying ruling was that the Zoning Enabling Act, which was adopted in 2006, empowered local units of government to effectively regulate, can't contradict, but can regulate in addition to the state regulation. This ordinance, the state statute, this ordinance adopts by reference all provisions of the 2008 statute and then goes from there. So whether some of the regulations in our proposed ordinance conflict with requirements or provisions in the state statute, I don't think so. Caitlin put this ordinance together in large part based on an ordinance she had prepared, I believe, for Lapeer, based on the Byron Township ordinance. I'm not saying that there won't be challenges, and certain provisions of the ordinance may be deemed to go too far, but in substance, the ordinance is valid. I haven't heard any conversation on several aspects of law that govern amendments to zoning ordinances, and I won't try to lay those out here. Those may address some of the concerns that were being raised by some of the residents. But
Byron let them grow in the home.
Whether this could be dialed down to address some of the concerns and still achieve the objectives of the ordinance, I can't answer your question, Linda, to say the public hearing on this took place at the Planning Commission because as part of our zoning ordinance, the amendment originated with the Planning Commission. I was not in attendance at the hearing. I don't know what transpired there, but that notice of that hearing would have been put out. That would have been the most effective forum for folks to show up and present their positions on certain aspects of the amendment. It came to the board with a recommendation from the Planning Commission, and we're just following suit in the process to adopt it. But as Fred stated, this is the second reading, and upon publication following this reading, assuming the board takes it that far, the ordinance will be effective. So we're within days of it being an effective ordinance if the board wants to go forward with it.
I would request a public town hall forum.
No, you're not allowed to speak. This is the board's chance to speak. You guys have had your chance.
Did the town, when the planning commission was going through this, did they have any comments? That's where this should have all been done, and it should have been brought to us after all the public comment. I'm assuming that it was all published and made public back when they did the planning commission. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah, there was public there at the time.
And were these
until the end of January?
Normally, these do not go through the planning commission.
You people are gonna have to stop talking. This is the board's chance to talk.
Nobody knew about it, Fred. We did not know.
Buddy.
You cannot say we knew. We just found out. I found.
So keep in mind, this is one aspect of the whole marijuana business. It's not medical marijuana. It's
This is not a business.
not, stop talking. It's not recreational marijuana. People can use recreational marijuana. Doesn't affect that at all. It's strictly that one small portion of patient caregiver.
It's people who have care and compassion.
Stop.
No, you stop.
We will follow through with the recall.
Learn how to control your Zoom.
We
Stop
just
lying.
answer our questions.
Not public comment.
public comment, sir?
No.
Time for us to tell you.
You know where that is?
Take questions.
Answer each one of our questions. It don't matter if we're here till 2 in the morning. You have to answer. Why are you doing this?
Public forums don't go through planning commissions. They go through township meetings.
Stop talking.
You guys are acting like dictators. This affects our lives.
Cut them off.
This just isn't right. You should at least take questions and listen to us. Let's have a conversation. We voted for you.
Apparently that was in the planning committee, which is not what a public forum for an ordinance is normally put through. So let's.
Growing weed is not a business, guys.
Stop, buddy.
It's not a business. Get it right. Understand what
You're
you're
on the
writing
board.
down.
You need to stand up.
Can I just say that he said there's public comment at the end, and can we just get through the meeting?
Please let us get through the meeting. Anybody else on the board have any discussion?
All I'd say for is I'm kind of torn on doing the vote right now, but again, with these concerns here, I mean, I think we need something in place, but that's basically, I don't know where I'm at on doing the vote tonight.
I
And
agree.
it doesn't matter.
A lot of
the
people are
no
upset.
voting. It doesn't matter about the fact of a recall. I don't care. The fact I'm going to vote what my heart is, but what are you guys' thoughts? I mean, should we go through with the vote tonight or what?
Yes.
If you are not sure in your heart, you are not legally allowed to vote.
Would you stop talking?
Fred,
Yes.
If we did not vote tonight, then it would go back to the planning commission. Is that not correct?
Well, you could send it back to the planning commission.
Why don't you do it,
Say
please?
that- Stop talking.
Can you please let us discuss this amongst the board members? We've heard you. We know how you feel. Please let us discuss
We
it.
really haven't heard at all. We got a lot more to say. Go ahead.
Sherry, you could request that it be sent back to the planning commission. You could request that it be tabled. You could
Put it
ask
up
for
to a vote with the
on-
people. Put it up to vote with the people. You could do.
Table it. Garbage can.
Steve? So why did we have to do the public hearing at planning? So the whole planning process, shoot.
You're muted, Wendy.
Is that Fred in the corner?
It was hidden, Wendy.
Is licensed businesses. This is not a business. This is a medical marijuana license.
We don't need a permit.
Steve, can you explain the process of why it went through planning? We had the public hearing at planning instead of here at the board meeting?
Please explain that.
All right. The Planning Commission is a commission appointed by the board. Most of the members have been on it for a number of years. State law requires that any amendment to the zoning ordinances break down into two broad categories. Zoning, which regulates land use, police power ordinances, which people are familiar with, that the Uniform Traffic Code, for example, is a subset of the police power ordinance. It makes certain activities illegal for the most part. State law requires that our zoning ordinance and any amendments to it originate with the Planning Commission. So there are specific requirements the Planning Commission has to follow if it's considering an amendment to the. You know, some of the folks that were commenting did a very nice job. They move their concerns forward. Mr. Smith.
Y'all get
you're-
6
you're not
figures,
doing-
not us. I mean, y'all get the pen.
Dude, Eric Smith, you are not helping.
You are not helping.
Be respectful and stop blaming.
If you folks were looking to convince the board not to take action tonight and to take a second look in light of the concerns that you had raised, some of you did a pretty good job of convincing at least a couple of these folks to at least take those into consideration. And I'll point you out, Mr. Smith, not in derogation of you, but just to point out that your comments are not helping the cause you are attempting to advocate for. That being said, back to your question, Wendy, because state law requires zoning ordinances and zoning ordinance amendments to originate with the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission took this issue up. The public hearing was published, and anybody that had any concerns about what was going on with that proposed amendment, which was identified as this amendment, should have been at that meeting. That's where the nuts and bolts of the zoning ordinance amendment are discussed, the concerns taken.
Where did you publish it?
Where was the phone number published? There was no phone number published.
What do you?
That's a
would you
fact.
get off that. We are following the requirements under state statute and the governor's orders as to what we need to do to notify the public of a public meeting. So that was done. It was at the website, and all of these people are here. I'm not sure what you're complaining about.
Listen, we just found out, sir. I swear. Give this a chance. We just found
The
out.
phone number was not listed on the agenda.
It's a global pandemic. It's hard to
If
spread
it wasn't for
information like
Buddy
this and
spreading the
find
word on
the township
Instagram,
meeting.
I would have never heard it myself. If it wasn't for
just
Buddy
found
spreading
out.
it on
It's
Instagram.
hard to keep a concerted line of thought going here, but in any event, we followed proper procedure. This was considered by the Planning Commission. They voted to recommend it to the board for adoption. We had the first reading at the last month's board meeting. This is the second reading. If the second reading is approved by the board and the ordinance is published, it becomes law. I'm not sure I'm answering your question, but that.
You're getting to the part where we're gonna delay the vote.
That's up to the board. So.
We're respectfully asking you not to vote on this, please.
Buddy, you gotta stop talking.
We'll say whatever we need to say, Fred.
Buddy.
Why are you even doing this? Why are you doing this? Answer us. Why are you?
All right, it's up to the board to decide what you want to do.
I just wanted to see, adding to what Steve said, a lot of the individuals giving comments here have really hurt the cause to what they're trying to go ahead and present. And I'm still wondering if we should delay it or send it back. But the fact of the matter is, it should be done respectfully. There's a lot of disrespect out there, and they're not proving the case.
Yeah, it's too bad.
I just want to
This
do.
ordinance is
That's not-
disrespectful.
Not respectfully, though. That's not.
one individual. Please don't blame all of us.
Every word of this is disrespectful.
Can we stop? Because listen, that's not a valid reason to not hold an actual valid vote in meeting. That's not, and by you even saying that is completely disrespectful to your citizens and the people of the public. And I expect better from my board.
You can't vote if you're not sure about something, period.
Your options are to proceed with the vote, and I've explained what if a majority votes in favor, the consequence of that is the ordinance will be adopted and published and subsequently almost immediately effective. Your other options are you could table it, take up the second reading at a later meeting without having to go back to the Planning Commission and go through the entire process again. You can send it back to the Planning Commission, ask them to take another look at it. They may send it back in the same form, or they may make some revisions to it and send it back. Or you could, on your own, amend the ordinance and approve something different from what's in front of you. Those are your options.
Bill, Linda, is that what you want?
I think that would be best right now. I think that as board members, we do have the responsibility to listen to the residents of our township and take a second look at it.
Okay. You want to send it back to planning, or do you want to have Steve take a look at it and you can make recommendations to him, what you'd like to have?
If I could, I'd like to follow along with Steve's comment that I have to say, I've always felt like the years that I've had in Flushing, I've had the best interest of Flushing in mind. We had meant no disrespect. This came to us from the Planning Commission. We felt that the proper policies had been done. And then to come to a meeting like this and have people talk the way they have. And some people were very compelling, which made me stop and really think. And then when I start being threatened about being disrespectful and not letting people speak and those kinds of things, and you can recall, I guess, if you have to, but I just don't think this is the way that we need to treat each other.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
you're
it's-
interfering
Exactly.
with
That's why this is illegal.
income.
That comment didn't help either.
Ma'am, it's 5 acres of land. Why
Comments
you
should
say
not
5 acres?
dictate
Stop
your
talking.
end decision. Comments should not dictate how you vote.
Stop talking.
Exactly, but
If comments dictate how you vote, you should not be.
So what is your,
I'm sorry. I don't understand, I guess, the people that can't treat each other with respect.
Because
Yeah.
you're not listening.
Well, definitely,
Really?
actually.
Yeah, nobody's
Well,
treating
the
anybody
board,
with.
you have to also understand, this is our livelihood. People have gave up everything just to try to do this type to help others.
We do not approve this
Linda, do
ordinance.
you have a recommendation or?
The people
Bill,
have
is there
spoken.
something you'd like to see happen?
I want to do what is right, but when you have people that make comments like that, I don't know what to do. I'm trying to be respectful because there are other people on the other side. What we're hearing today is those that are all opposed to this, but how many are for it that aren't saying anything? So I don't know.
Well, like you said, they had today to address their.
Well, we can, send it back to the Planning Commission for a review. Let them take another look at it, and if you have any comments that you'd like to add with that you'd like them to consider, then we can do that.
I'll make the motion that we table this and bring it back in March.
Okay. Bill, was that Bill Bain? Did you second? Okay. Yep. Do we need to vote on tabling, Steve, or is it automatically tabled?
It's automatically tabled.
Okay.
Another question, Brad. Now, how can they go ahead and can they still send in comments and everything regarding this before our next meeting? I mean, it sounds like a lot of people, they just want to get their comments out. I mean, I'm for the comments being out. Is there another way to allow them to?
They can put it in writing. I've been talking to people all day today, and it's all people saying the same thing as what was said tonight, that they don't like the restrictions on the ordinance. So we can take it back to planning, then have them take another look at it and see if there's anything that they could recommend. So if people want to submit their questions or their concerns, of course, we have a lot of comments tonight, so.
Where can we make our suggestions and comments at?
To the township office, township clerk.
Clerk?
I actually just have one question about the comments at the next meeting. If you bring it forward and everything, will we have a chance to speak then as well, or does it just go
Every
straight
meeting
to a
is
vote?
exactly the same. Yep, there's public comment at every meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody telling her to shut up.
That's because I'm being
You've got a little
respectful, and I
respect.
actually have respect for the board members, and we should let them talk.
And she's making eloquent points. You're acting a fool.
You're talking
Yes, sir.
over.
All right, stop, people.
Eric B, don't talk for the caregivers, please.
We've managed to get through the unfinished business. Now we have to move to new business.